Hello, I'm Dr. Claudia Hernandez, and I want you to know something that might surprise you. The health of your prostate isn't decided in the urologist's office. It's decided day after day in your own kitchen, on your own plate. Look, many men come to my office terrified. They arrive with that silent fear they don't dare confess even to their own families. The fear of getting up again and again during the night. The fear of that endless dripping. The fear that intimacy with their partner will become a source of anxiety instead of joy. And above all, the fear of that one word that sends a chill down all our spines: cancer. They see this problem as an inevitable sentence, as a stroke of bad luck they were dealt. But I am here today to tell you that this is not entirely true. Today, I promise you that we are going to shine a very powerful light in the middle of that darkness. We are going to transform that fear into hope, and we will do it through knowledge. Today, I am going to reveal the 5 foods that may be silently endangering your prostate, inflaming it, and creating the perfect environment for disease. But I will not leave you with the fear. For each of these 5 enemies, I am going to explain clearly, as if we were sitting together at my kitchen table, why they cause harm. And more importantly, I am going to give you a plan of action, a practical and optimistic guide for you to take back control of your health, starting today. If you believe this information is vital for you, for your husband, your father, or your brother, I ask you to subscribe to the channel now, activate that little bell so you don't miss any health alerts, and leave a like so that this message of health can reach more families. And so I know that you are with me on this health journey. Please comment below with the keyword, my prostate. That way, I'll know we're in this together. And finally, one thing that fascinates me is knowing where we are all connecting from. As many of you know, I speak to you from the United States, but my heart and my roots are proudly from Mexico. That's why it moves me so much to see how far our great family reaches. Tell me with pride in the comments, from what city and country are you watching me today? I want to know so I can send you a heartfelt hug. Let's begin this journey. The first silent enemy we are going to unmask today is red and processed meats. Many of us grew up with the idea that a good plate of food must include a hearty piece of beef or pork, or that processed meats like sausages or ham are a quick and tasty solution. It's part of our culture, of our Sunday family barbecues. But this is where the truth becomes a bit bitter. The hidden danger, especially for a man's prostate over the age of 60, isn't just in the fat, but in how we cook these meats. When you place that meat on the grill, the broiler, or a very hot pan until it's well done, almost charred, certain substances called heterocyclic amines are formed. Think about this in a simple way. Imagine your prostate is a field of very dry grass. Every time you eat these heavily cooked meats, it's as if tiny sparks from a fire are landing on that grass. At first, one spark does nothing. But if sparks land every day, again and again and again, what do you think will happen? Exactly. The risk of a fire starting, a chronic inflammation, multiplies. That constant inflammation is the perfect environment that abnormal cells love in order to start growing without control. Furthermore, the high amount of saturated fat in these meats acts as an accelerant for that fire. It's like pouring gasoline on the sparks. These fats increase the production of hormones that, in excess, can act like a fertilizer for a potential prostate tumor. I remember one of my patients, Don Roberto, a 72-year-old man, strong as an oak. His greatest pride was the barbecues he made every weekend for his children and grandchildren. "Doctor," he would tell me, "there's nothing like a good cut of meat, almost black on the outside and red on the inside." But Don Roberto began to suffer. He was getting up 5-6 times a night to go to the bathroom. He felt like he could never fully empty his bladder. When we examined him, his prostate was very enlarged, inflamed, and his risk markers were through the roof. The problem wasn't his love for his family, but the vehicle he used to show it. That nearly burnt meat that, without his knowing, was irritating his body from the inside. So, what is the plan of action? Does this mean you can never enjoy a family gathering again? Of course not. It's about changing the star of the plate. First, reduce your consumption of red meat to no more than once a week. And when you do eat it, choose lean cuts, with the least amount of visible fat. Second, change your cooking method. Instead of grilling it over a direct high flame, prefer to cook it slowly, stewed, baked at lower temperatures, or even boiled. Always avoid that black, burnt crust. Marinating the meat in lemon or vinegar before cooking can help reduce the formation of those harmful substances. Third, and most importantly, fall in love with other proteins. Fish, especially those rich in good fats like salmon, trout, sardines, or tuna, are a balm for the prostate. Those omega-3 fats are like a team of firefighters putting out the inflammation. Chicken or turkey without the skin are also excellent options. And dare to try legumes. Beans, lentils, and chickpeas are a wonderful source of protein that also provides fiber and protects your prostate. As you can see, it's not about giving up. It's about substituting with intelligence and love for your own body. And speaking of substituting, that brings us directly to the second food on our list, one that many consider the source of life and health, but which can hide a dangerous secret. The second enemy on our list is dairy products, especially whole milk and high-fat cheeses. I know what you're thinking. But Dr. Claudia, how can milk be bad? Our whole lives we've been told it's the best source of calcium for strong bones. And you are right, that has been the popular belief for generations. But the latest science has shown us a different side of the coin, especially for men's health after a certain age. The hidden villain here isn't just excess calcium, but a growth hormone called IGF-1, or insulin-like growth factor 1. It sounds complicated, but the analogy is very simple. Think of the cells in our body as having a natural rhythm of growth and death, like the plants in a garden. IGF-1, which is very abundant in cow's milk because it's designed to make a calf grow quickly, acts like a very powerful fertilizer. If in your garden, in your prostate, there are some weeds or cells that could become abnormal, pouring this fertilizer on them every day is not a good idea. It can make them grow faster and stronger than they should. Additionally, some studies have found that a very high intake of calcium from dairy can interfere with our body's ability to produce active vitamin D, which is one of the guardians that protects us against cancer. It's as if, by trying to reinforce one wall of the house, the bones, we weaken the guard who watches all the doors. I clearly remember the case of Don Miguel, a 68-year-old man who drank 3 large glasses of whole milk every day. He was convinced this would protect him from osteoporosis. He told me with pride that his bones were shielded. But he came to see me for severe urinary problems, and unfortunately, we diagnosed him with advanced prostate cancer. He couldn't understand it. But I take such good care of myself, doctor. The problem was that his concept of taking care of himself was based on a popular belief that, in his case, was feeding the silent enemy growing inside him. The plan of action here is clear and liberating. It's not about leaving your bones unprotected, but about finding better sources of calcium. First, limit your consumption of cow's milk and high-fat cheeses. If you love cheese, choose options like cottage cheese or farmer's cheese, and in small portions. Second, explore the wonderful world of plant-based milks. Unsweetened almond milk, oat milk, or soy milk are delicious alternatives. Many of them are fortified with calcium and vitamin D, giving you the good without the bad. Third, and fundamentally, get your calcium from plants. Dark green leafy vegetables like spinach, broccoli, and kale are rich in calcium that your body absorbs beautifully. Sardines, eaten with their soft bones, almonds, and white beans are also extraordinary sources. It's calcium as nature designed it, accompanied by other nutrients that work as a team for your health. So don't be afraid of this change. Think of it as swapping a questionable fertilizer for the best natural compost for your body's garden. And now that we're talking about what fertilizes and what inflames, we must talk about the third great enemy. The third poison for your prostate is bad fats, saturated fats, and trans fats. Here, the popular belief is that what gives flavor makes you fat, and many assume that fat is simply a problem for the heart or the belly. But the damage goes much deeper, reaching all the way to that small gland that controls so much in a man's life. The danger, the real villain, is the chronic, silent inflammation that these fats cause throughout your entire system. Imagine the arteries and blood vessels in your body as rivers of crystal clear water carrying life and oxygen to every corner, including your prostate. When you consume saturated fats, found in chicken skin, fatty meats, butter, palm oil, and even worse, trans fats, present in fried food, margarine, industrial pastries, and almost all processed foods, it's as if you start pouring thick mud and oil into those rivers. Little by little, the flow becomes slow, heavy, sticky. The riverbanks, which are your arteries, become irritated, inflamed, and that inflammation doesn't just stay there. It's a constant state of alert for your entire body. Your prostate, being a very sensitive gland with a delicate network of blood vessels, suffers enormously from this heavy traffic and constant irritation. It's like living in a house where there's always a loud, annoying noise and the walls are vibrating. Sooner or later, the structure gets damaged. I remember a patient, Carlos, only 65 years old. His job forced him to eat out every day. His diet consisted of French fries, fried chicken, pastries, and all sorts of snacks he found on the street. "It's the quickest thing, doctor," he would justify. He came to my office not only overweight and with high blood pressure, but with chronic pelvic pain, a prostatitis that gave him no peace. He felt a constant burning sensation. His prostate was, literally, screaming for help. It was trapped in the middle of an inflammatory swamp that his own diet had created. The plan of action to clean these rivers and restore their purity is delicious and full of power. First, declare war on trans fats. Read the labels. If it says partially hydrogenated oil or vegetable shortening, leave it on the shelf. It is pure poison. Eliminate stick margarines and fast food fried items from your life. Second, drastically reduce saturated fats. Cook with methods that don't require much fat, like steaming, baking, or grilling. Always remove the skin from chicken before cooking. Use butter very sparingly as an occasional luxury, not a daily ingredient. Third, and this is the beautiful part, embrace the good fats. Your body needs them. Extra virgin olive oil is liquid gold. Use it to dress your salads and for low-temperature cooking. Avocados are a wonderful source of healthy fats. Walnuts, almonds, chia seeds, and flax seeds are little treasures full of anti-inflammatory power. And as we've already said, fatty fish like salmon are your best allies. These good fats are like a cleanup crew that dredges the mud from your internal rivers and soothes the irritated walls. Switching from bad fats to good fats is one of the greatest acts of self-love you can do for your prostate and your heart. And while we're cleaning out the mud, we must be careful with another substance that dirties everything. Our fourth enemy is sweet and addictive, sugar and refined flours. Here we face a giant. Because sugar isn't just in desserts or coffee. It's hidden everywhere, in sodas, in boxed juices, in white bread, in pasta, in ketchup, in breakfast cereals. The belief is that sugar gives you energy and is a harmless pleasure. The sad truth is that it is one of the greatest promoters of inflammation that exists. When you consume a large amount of sugar or white flour, which your body converts to sugar almost instantly, your blood glucose level spikes. To control this, your pancreas releases a flood of insulin. This constant cycle of sugar rush and crash is exhausting for your body and creates a state of generalized inflammation. It's like having the fire alarm in your house go off at full blast several times a day. The stress and chaos this generates weakens all structures. But there's an even more perverse mechanism. Think about caramel. When you heat sugar, it becomes sticky, brown, and hard. Something similar happens inside your body in a process called glycation. The excess sugar in your blood sticks to the proteins in your cells, making them rigid and inefficient. It's as if your cells, including those in your prostate, are being caramelized or, to use another analogy, rusting from the inside out. They become old and dysfunctional before their time, and much more susceptible to errors and abnormal growth. I will never forget Don Francisco, an adorable 75-year-old grandfather whose only vice, he said, was his 2 sweet pastries with his sugar-laden coffee in the morning and his cola with lunch. "It gives me the joy to start my day, doctor." But that joy was costing him dearly. He developed benign prostatic hyperplasia, so severe that the simple act of urinating became an ordeal that lasted minutes. His prostate was so inflamed and rigid that it squeezed his urethra like a fist. When he completely eliminated sugar and processed foods, his improvement in just a few months was, in his own words, a miracle. The plan of action to free yourself from this sweet addiction is a journey of rediscovering the real taste of food. First, eliminate sugary drinks. This is non-negotiable. Sodas, industrial juices, and sweetened flavored waters are inflammation bombs. Drink water, water with lemon, unsweetened green tea, or herbal infusions. Second, banish white bread, white rice, and refined pasta. Swap them for their whole grain versions. Whole grain bread, brown rice, quinoa, oatmeal. The fiber in these foods causes the sugar to be released slowly, preventing insulin spikes. Third, Re-educate your palate. Start reducing the amount of sugar you add to your coffee or tea, little by little. You will discover that you start to taste the real flavor of things. And for dessert, fresh fruit is the best option. Berries like strawberries, blueberries, and raspberries are full of antioxidants that protect your prostate. This step may be the most difficult, but it is the one that will bring you the quickest and most evident feeling of well-being and control. And it leads us to the final point, which is the summary of everything we have learned. The fifth and final enemy is a general concept: ultra-processed and high-salt foods. We live in a world of haste. Cans, boxes, frozen meals, and packages promise us convenience. We believe they save us time, but the truth is they are robbing us of health, and we pay the bill later. These products are the complete package of harm. Not only are they often full of the bad fats and sugar we've already mentioned, but they also contain an army of preservatives, colorings, artificial flavorings, and, above all, a brutal amount of salt. The mechanism of damage from excess salt is direct and easy to understand. Think of a garden hose. If you turn up the water pressure to the maximum all the time, what happens to the hose? It becomes rigid, wears out, and can eventually burst at its weakest points. That is exactly what excess salt does to your arteries. It raises your blood pressure, forcing your heart to work harder and damaging the delicate small blood vessels that supply your prostate. A prostate with poor circulation is a sick prostate, unable to receive nutrients and remove waste properly. And the additional chemicals, imagine them as extra work for your liver and kidneys, your body's cleaning systems. If you constantly have them busy cleaning up a load of chemical garbage, they can't do their other jobs well, like regulating hormones and maintaining the balance your prostate needs. I have seen so many men, especially widowers or those who live alone, whose diet depends almost entirely on canned soups, frozen dinners, and deli meats. I remember Jorge, 69 years old, who stopped cooking after his wife passed away. "It's not worth the trouble just for me," he'd say. His blood pressure was sky high despite taking medication, and his urinary symptoms were worsening every month. His body was literally saturated, slowly poisoned by convenience. The final plan of action is a call to return to the basics, to real food. First, become a label detective. If the ingredient list is very long and full of words you can't pronounce, that's not food. Leave it where it is. Look at the amount of sodium, salt, and avoid anything high in this mineral. Second, cook at home as often as you can. It doesn't have to be complicated. Steamed vegetables with a pan-seared fish fillet and some brown rice is a quick, delicious, and healing meal. Make larger quantities and save portions for busy days. Third, use and abuse herbs and spices for flavor. Garlic, onion, oregano, cilantro, cumin, turmeric, ginger. They are natural medicines full of anti-inflammatory power. They will give your food incredible flavor without needing to add a pinch of salt. Returning to real food, the food our grandparents ate, is the greatest act of rebellion against disease in the modern world. We have traveled an important road today. We have unmasked the enemies: red and processed meats, dairy, bad fats, sugar, and ultra-processed foods. But the most valuable thing is that for each one, we have lit a light of hope with a clear and achievable plan of action. You have the power to change your health story. It's not a matter of luck, it's a matter of choice. A choice you make every time you sit down at the table. Now I want to ask for a commitment, not to me, but to yourself. Which of these 5 action plans are you going to put into practice first? It doesn't have to be all at once. Choose one. Maybe it's giving up sodas, or switching from white to whole grain bread, or eating fish twice a week. Write here in the comments, "My commitment is," and complete the sentence. Making it public makes it real, makes it a pact with your own life. And if this message has resonated in your heart, if you believe it can help another man live with less fear and more health, please share this video. Sending it to your brother, your friend, your father, is a gesture of love and care that is worth more than any gift. Thank you for joining me on this journey. I trust in your strength and in your ability to take the reins of your well-being. May God immensely bless your health, your home, and your family. I'll see you at our next meeting.